Replacing Ineffable for Team Pulse is Abstinence, who plays Terran. We do have a bio for Abstinence from Team Pulse. It is Alan Yao who plays Abstinence. He started StarCraft 2 in early 2012, his senior year of high school. He ended up going to UC Berkeley, and he joined the CSL team and participated in their victory in CSL 6, also known as the Azubu Collegiate Championships.
Collegiate Star League, I think, is what that stands for.
Yep. And after Heart of the Swarm came out, he made Grandmaster and then proceeded to join Pulse Esports. He attended MLG Anaheim, but ended up getting knocked out by IST BZ and Root Succeed. But he
Both
probably
really good players.
Very good players, yeah. So he was definitely playing hard in the open bracket, trying to make it to the main stage. Unfortunately, did not make it, but he's on the main stage here, and we've seen him before. He's actually a pretty good player, so we'll see if Snakehips is able to deal with what Abstinence brings out.
Great, and just before we jump into this game, I want to remind you to follow at SC2CTL on Twitter. That way you can find out all the information about the league, be kept in the know about all of our broadcasts. Also follow at WingnetSC and at Galligation. Therefore you can let your friends know when we're casting, as you can keep up with these great teams. It's just been a really awesome experience so far. These teams, these players are really fun. It's been really a pleasure to interact with them, which is great. And also a big thanks to Das Keyboard. Give them a follow as well. For putting up the stuff to support the league. That's great. To give some prizes for the winners. Be 5 DOS keyboards. It's cool.
Very cool. And it's been great to interact with the community during casting these games as well. Thank you for posting in chat. Thank you for tweeting at us and just getting involved with the league. This is the Community Team League, and the idea behind it is the community. So the more feedback that we get from you and the more interaction that we have from you, the more successful the league really is. It's all based around the community and just celebrating how awesome the StarCraft 2 community really is. So thank you for watching, thank you for joining us, thank you for posting, and we'll get into this game.
Absolutely. As we get going in our upper left-hand corner, our blue Terran, he's going to be coming out for Pulse Esports to try and take back this game after a 3-2 score advance from StarCraft Alliance. It's Abstinence.
And in the lower right-hand corner, surviving the cannon rush from his opponent in the previous game in the red Zergy trunks, it is Snakehips.
I love that name.
It is clever.
So we're going to be on Akalon Waste. This is a fun map. Definitely a lot of interesting places you can go. It's TVZ. TVZ is probably one of the more fun matchups to watch at the moment, depending on... There's just so many avenues that it goes. There's not really a standard, it doesn't seem like to me.
Well, you know, Zerg, I mean, it feels like to me that you often see a lot of either Marine Mine or Marine Tank coming out from the from the Terran player, and in response to that, you often see Baneling, Mutalisk. We did see earlier a really nifty mech play by, I believe that was Mr. Cash who played that way. And you know, that proved very successful and effective against the Baneling Mutalisk play. But sometimes you see Zerg going more roach-heavy play against the mech. So it'll be interesting to see what these two players come out with.
Certainly one of the fun things that I've seen is I love Blinding Cloud. It's so good. Against those Terran players that go heavy mech, heavy tanks. It just is gut-wrenching to see that Blinding Cloud go down over all the tanks and make them basically useless. Yeah,
and I mean, it's kind of a really awkward position for Terran to be in if those tanks are in the middle of that blinding cloud, because even if you have to unsiege them and move them out of there, that still takes a lot of time, and if you got Zerglings chomping at you, that is not a comfortable position to be in.
Not at all. The last thing I would be is comfortable in those tanks if there was Zerglings chomping at me. Not
at all.
So it looks like Spawning Pool is going to be going down along with the hatchery. Fairly standard opening from Snakehips. Abstinence going to be coming down to scout that out. He's got his SCV rallied directly to the center of that little spinny drone growing thing inside the hatchery there as it grows. That drone definitely goes to the gym when they're morphing into it. Looks like Abstinence going to put down a bunker there that Snakehips cannot see.
Yep, and he's got Marines rallied right across the map, so they're going to be booking it straight for that.
Seems like something we saw a lot in Wings of Liberty. Almost every game it was like standard for Terran to bunker rush a Zerg's natural, but it doesn't seem quite as common anymore. I don't know if it's because it's such a big investment early or what, but...
Well, you know, as with any type of strategy in StarCraft, you see people in the ladder tend to get used to it, and then they plan for it. And so then it becomes less effective if people are able to scout it and see it and know what's coming and can prepare against it. But it looks like Abstinence caught Snake Hips a little bit off guard. Reaper does come down, and Zerglings are coming out now. One Zergling does fall to that Reaper. It's chasing down the other one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was an accident that this bunker is too far away from the hatchery to actually take it down, or if he was doing that intentionally, allowing it for a spot for the Reaper to retreat to when he ends up getting followed by the Zerglings just like that.
Yeah, it looks like this is going to be pretty... Oh, unless he loses that Reaper here. He does not want to do that.
Oh, that Marine ended up jumping out of the bunker for some reason. I'm not sure why.
I think he wanted to get a little bit of DPS on the Lings that were chasing the Reaper. But now two Queens are coming down, and that bunker is going to fall. He gets the Reaper out and the Marine out. Trying to retreat out of here. Does lose the Marine. Doesn't look like he's going to lose that Reaper, though.
Yeah, but if you consider how much Snake Hips lost in that, I mean, that's a lot of Zerglings that were created that could have been drones, as you actually even see him canceling a set of Zerglings there.
Yep. Now those Reapers are coming up the ramp again, trying to do a little bit more damage. Two Queens there to greet him and a handful of Lings, but they are slow, so the Reapers are faster than them.
Yeah, if you look at the units killed, that's 11 killed by... Hey, here's that overlay we had messed up last game. Now that we know what it does, it's useful. We lost 11 Zerglings and 1 Marine, so that definitely was a lot of could-have-been drones for Snake Hips, at least 5 or 6. A lot of upgrades coming down for Abstinence. Stim starting, Hellions in production, more Reapers in production. He's also putting down an expansion here for a... third base? Yeah, it's going to be a third base coming down from Abstinence, so quite the big play after feeling like he did quite a bit of damage there to slow Snake Hips down, so comfortable with expanding quite a bit.
Yep, those Reapers continue to do damage. They've been greeted with some Hellion support. Those Queens are keeping them out of the base, though, but it really forces Snake Hips to keep those Queens down there. He cannot have them doing anything else except for defending, and he does have 2 more Queens made at his bases to continue those injects, so he's just going to use those Queens to spread creep and keep out the nasties from Terran.
Yeah, we've seen this from before from Abstinence, actually, using a couple Hellions and a Reaper to just keep the creep spread at bay, actually, in the early game. Zerg is not able to move out with these creep tumors with these units out here, so he's gonna, you know, he made these extra Queens specifically for creep spread, so that's gonna be a bit wasteful on them. As you see the energy getting a bit high on him at 63 and 64, so he's Abstinence being effective with these units, trying to keep the creep spread back.
And Abstinence is really keeping the map control with these units. You know, he's really been effective with these Reapers and these Hellions, keeping everything back, really.
One of these creep tumors was nullified here as it tried to move out and was killed, so he's only got 2 active creep tumors now. Could be putting down a couple more farther back, but it looks like he's going to try and move to the right, as likely that's where he's going to want to expand.
We do see big Roach production coming from Snake Hips. He's going to try and clean up with these units and get out of his base.
Stim is about to finish up here, so we'll probably see Abstinence moving out at around when his 1-1 finishes, which he started a little bit ago. It's about half done. Going for a pretty heavy bioplay. I don't see a starport yet. As now it just starts.
Yep, just went down. Those Roaches are moving up to those Queens, so it looks like he's getting ready. Oh, he might just be going for a push.
Yeah,
he's kind of avoiding that army there.
He conveniently walked those Roaches right by the Queens and creep tumors so that he could keep that creep moving out there. Looks like he's going to meander their way around the right, just bypass these units altogether. But when he comes up to the front, he's going to see a couple bunkers here that are going to be filled with units, as well as a supply depot also. He's going to be able to kill a lot of supply depots here with the range of the Roaches, but we'll see how he does as he comes up here. Bunker's not finished yet. One supply depot goes down. He just runs right in, targets that Marauder first, targets the second Marauder, so he's going to move
Stim goes down. Tank did just siege, so he's going to be taking some hits there. The SCVs are being pulled, but he's targeting those bunkers before anything can get in them. The units from the front of the base of Snake Hips are being pulled back, and those Roaches are getting into a very nasty position, being cornered. And
That tank not in the best position to help out as the roaches are staying towards the bottom, but they're not going to be able to get out anywhere. They're going to end up being cleaned up by this bioforce, as the tank is there to prevent them from moving up forward. But he did do a nice play of moving in by sniping those marauders. That'll keep that marauder count low. Ends up killing a lot of marines, so I'm not sure this was the overall most productive push in the world, but it did kill a few things. It kept Abstinence busy, but if we look at the supply counts, Abstinence now is in the lead, which is not the position you want to be in as a Zerg, is behind.
That's right. You know, I don't know that he had really much of another option except to push there, but it didn't seem like that battle really went in his favor there.
Yeah, if we look at the units killed, it's 35 to 16 with resources lost. Is about not quite double for Zerg as the Terran, so he's definitely not going to be trading very well right now as a medevac loads up with a bunch of Marines to go for a drop at the third. Not very well defended. There was only one queen and several drones there to defend it. Looking at the units, he's only got 9 roaches. That's a very thin defense.
Very thin, but he did lose a lot there, and now he's trying to tech up. He does have an infestation pit about to finish, and he is getting a lot of upgrades.
Yeah, Hydra's coming down, as I saw the Hydra speed upgrade there, assuming that Hydras will be coming down. 5 Hydras in production, although Snakehips does sniff blood in the water, or actually the opposite of that, as Abstinence goes in for the drop. There's a ton of roaches there. He pulls them back just in time. Going to lose a few Marines and get on out of there. Very unproductive drop, but nice play by Snakehips being ready for that. I think he had a sense that after that push was failed, seeing the medevacs that he had, he could expect something.
Yep. That is absolutely right. 3 bases for Abstinence up right now. They are mining, and they are happy.
Hive coming down now for Snakehips, so I have a feeling since he's seen tanks and the Bioforce, he's going to be getting those Vipers out.
Pathogen glands being researched, so we are going to see some infestors.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite things to see right now is Infestor, Viper, and Roach Hydra. So strong, especially with upgrades. He's even getting Burrow.
Well, you know, when you get Infestors, they are very squishy. That Burrow does help a lot. To get those fungals in and get out.
5 more roaches in production. Snakehips has now taken the food lead, but Absence moving up the left side. He's just scanning to recede all this creep. All those poor creep tumors going down. Creep is going to be really pushed back for Snakehips and even split in the middle here. Interested to see how he decides to hold this off. As
but half his army went way too far back. He's trying to get a concave going here, and it looks like he's going to do all right, but half his army isn't even engaging right now. He does take out 1 tank, 2 tanks, but that hit army goes down. And the front of the line is not looking great. Roaches come in to resupply, but those tanks are still there. Trying to lead those Marines back to try and get some hits, but the supply lines are feeding right into them.
Yeah, there is creep there, so he can see when those tanks are on siege. Right as he pulls back up to target those tanks down, he's going to get both the tanks down, but he's not going to have enough units to deal with the bio. He's going to have to make a lot more. 12 roaches in production. Burrow about to finish up. So Snakehips is going to be able to hold off this push by Abstinence, but it's going to be a pretty heavy army loss for Snakehips.
Absolutely, and you know that supply line for Snakehips is really in an ineffective position. Ooh, great load up and getting out of there. So Snakehips did take a lot of damage there. Abstinence had great positioning, able to cut off half the incoming army from Snakehips so that he minimized his losses and dealt as much damage as possible.
Yeah, units lost is up to about 8,000 for Snakehips to the 4,900 for Abstinence, so he's definitely not trading well. Terran is powering up in a big way. Got mech upgrades coming down as well, more tanks, plus 3 attack for bio coming down, 5 roaches in production, lots of Hydras. So the food supply is evening up, but Snakehips still behind. This is looking really good for Abstinence right now, especially as he moves out for another push.
But now Snakehips does have 5 Infestors ready to pop, so if he was able to hold that, that could be the tech that changes the tide of things.
Snakehips drop the rocks at his third base to keep Terran out for a short period of time. This is a pretty nice choke, though, so if he was to get those Infestors up here, he'd be able to get at least
moving
some nice...
around from the behind. He might be able to get some great fungals here, biding his time, although unless he's moving them out just to do some damage, those might just be strike force Infestors and not actually army Infestors. But there's just not a lot of units really at home to deal with this push of Marine tank Marauder.
Yeah, these Infestors are coming up. If Abstinence were to scan right now, they would be dead meat. He does.
Oh, I heard that scan and thought that they were going down. But
scanning creep tumors, but it looks like the Infestors of Snakehips are going for the bases right now. Going to be either hopefully popping up and fungling these SCVs, because that's one of my favorite things in the world to see. But I'm thinking maybe more infested Terrans, but Abstinence does sense what's going on as he's pulling his entire army back, leaving only a small strike force up front. Why haven't these infestors done anything yet?
Looks like he's waiting for the right time.
Now they're selected. We're going to see some action maybe. Nope, splitting one off. Probably going to send him up into the main.
It looks like he's going to try and hit pretty much all the bases at the same time. He's got a few infestors in every place. Oh, the army of Snake Hips is catching a small force of Abstinence off guard, but he decides not to engage it.
It looks like there are infested Terrans going down at the natural and the third base and the main all at once, just like you said. So Abstinence now very distracted, pulling his army back.
And Snake Hips is moving in with his main army, taking down the rocks by the third, but Abstinence's army is moving into position.
This is a great move by Snake Hips to keep Abstinence busy, but Snake Hips' army I just don't think is going to be able to handle this. All these medevacs, all these tanks, all this bio. But Abstinence,
there is a Viper.
Abstinence is forced to take a lot of losses. These infestors doing a ton of damage. There's no SCVs at either of the original 3 bases. Only mining base is the 4th. But Abstinence's army is so much stronger than Snake Hips at the moment. Snake Hips going to be trying to defend this now, as that's going to be his stand in this game. But Abstinence moving in, going to be taking up a pretty powerful siege position here.
Snake Hips was on the high ground. He is going to be able to move back and maybe get those
bio tanks stuck behind the tanks. Oh, amazing blinding cloud.
Oh, great blinding cloud there. And those roaches are doing huge damage. The hydras are taking everything down. That was great biding of time by Snake Hips to do lots and lots of damage. But, oh my gosh, the upgrade advantage for Abstinence is just too high. There's too many medevacs. The damage is being mitigated, and Snake Hips is not going to be able to deal with that army.
Yeah, that bio's at 3-3 now, and Snake Hips is only at 1-2, so even just this small bio force alone without any tanks is going to be able to do a ton of damage to any army units. Looks like he's going to burrow those drones, but the scan's going to clean him up. Even though Abstinence was put at a disadvantage with most of his SCVs dying to those infestors, which are still back there, still doing damage with those infested Terrans, he's just going to be able to have the kill move with this small army here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, this army is just, it's such an upgrade advantage. I'm not sure that Snake Hips is going to be able to hold it off. I mean, such small numbers of bio units is doing huge damage to these light units.
And Abstinence is doing a great job of splitting his army and reinforcing from the backside to be able to peel Snake Hips' attacks in 2 different directions to get the most DPS for Abstinence.
And that medevac number is just keeping everything alive. Snake Hips is not able to kill anything. Abstinence can stim as much as he wants, taking out the Hydralis Den now, and GG, well played from Snake Hips.
Absolutely. Abstinence just did a really good job in that game. The upgrades were the difference, because when it came to that last engagement, the army supplies were fairly even. The overall food supply was almost 200 for each player, but I mean, those upgrades just, when they finally engaged, the Hydras and Roaches just melted to that 3-3 upgrade.
Yeah, you know, and those medevacs, the huge number of medevacs, just keeping all that bio alive, not really able to do much. I almost wondered what would have happened if he had had some of those infestors with his main army and was able to get some fungals off that maybe could have prevented some of that positioning from Abstinence. He did get some great blinding clouds down to mitigate some of that damage, but, you know, if you can really stop the army from moving, you can get a lot more damage in.